Hi, I'm going to show you how to use our vendor management template. To begin with, I'd like to explain that anything that you see or any cells that you see highlighted in orange or light orange means that they will update on their own. Next, also make sure that any name, vendor, item number, or invoice number is always the same all across all three items or all three tabs to make sure that the information is all the same. And it pulls the same information for this, for example. So let's start on vendors. So this is where you would add the vendor name or vendor company. Then you would add the vendor logo here if you'd like. Next, you could choose on the status of the vendor. If it's a long-term relationship, if it's a new relationship or short-term relationship, you can modify that by clicking the edit button here. Here you can modify the colors, you can modify the name, add or delete any items how you would like. If you modify or change anything, make sure you always click on done, apply to all, and then the X next to data validation rules. Next, we go on to supplying. So what this vendor is supplying, so they're supplying item number one. In this case, we've used this as an example, item number one. An example could be doors, handles, nails, etc. Then you would put the contact for that company, their phone number, the email, and here's where you would add any invoices that have been sent to that company. Total amount spent is calculated based on the vendor name here, which should match on the next tabs once we get to them in just a short second. At the end, you have a section for notes. Let's move on to the items tab. Under items tab, this is where you would put the item name. You can put doors, nails, item number four. You can keep this as is as long as you know what item it is. Then you would put the vendor name. Make sure the vendor name again is always the same as we have here under the vendor in vendors. Next, we have invoices. This will also make sure that it's the same number as invoices in here. Make sure it's always that same number if you decide to leave it as is or if you decide to change it. Then this is where you would add, if that particular item, how much we have on hand. If we don't have any on hand, we can put 0. If we have 50 on hand, this is where you would add that. And then again, these will update on their own based on the total bought that we put under the invoices, the unit price, and the total spent. And then you have a space for notes. So let's move on to the invoices now. Under invoices, again, you can leave this number as it is, or you can change it to your liking. You can add a profile here for the PDF, any files that you have. Then next, you can add the item number or item name here based on what you've added here. So in this case, we have item one. It's going to say item one. Then the vendor, which needs to be the same as the vendor here. So cabinet company, cabinet company. Then here you would put the status of this invoice, if it's on hand, or the item itself, if it's on hand, if it's been ordered, or if it's been delayed. You can modify this by clicking the edit button here. You can change the color, change or add any items as you like. Make sure to always click on done, apply to all, and X next to data validation rules. This is where you would add the unit price for that item. We've put as an example as 55. You can modify this, for example, to 50, and it will change the unit price to what we have here as the quantity amount that we've ordered for this invoice. Say in this case, we've ordered 150, it will modify and it will change that to $7,500. And since this invoice and item number and cabinet match, then the items here will also match. So item number one, invoice number one, we ordered 50 on hand. We bought 150. The unit price was 50 for each, 7,500, which is the same as the invoice number here. And then we can go to vendors, and it's also going to pull the same information here based on what we have under cabinet company. So for example, we have carpeting company. They have 24,000, which they summed up here. Everything that we have under carpeting company here. So there's 2 under carpeting company. It's going to sum up this plus this. Then we can go and add the shipping costs here. You can categorize which project it belongs to or what project it's going to go to. Project 1, 2, etc. You can modify this by clicking the edit button here. You can change the color, add, or delete any items as you like. Make sure to always click on done, apply to all, and X next to data validation rules. This is where you would put the date it was ordered, the date received, and this will calculate how long the shipment took based on the dates that you've inserted here. And then here you would add any additional notes as you would like. And there you have it. Make sure, once again, that all the names and items and invoices all match through all three of the tabs. And that's how you would use our Vergo Vendor Management Template.